Welcome to a pivotal moment in the world of broadcast as we proudly present the Men's Mental Health Show featuring the renowned Larry Mabry in collaboration with the Maassen Group. This essential exploration of men's mental health wouldn't be possible without the invaluable support of RainerAvenueRadio.world. Now, let's dive into this crucial conversation with Larry Mabry and the Maassen Group. Your mental well-being matters. Here's Larry Mabry.
Celebrate that. Um, just want to say, hey, what's up? Want to check in with everyone. Hopefully, everyone's feeling good. Movember, for those people that do not know, that basically means is for the month of November, we basically show our brotherhood and we grow out our beards, mustaches, our hair, whatever, just to show our brotherhood what it is to represent being a man. Um, and for the whole month, basically, we just forego shaving, let it grow. It's okay to kind of shape it, I guess, but just kind of just embrace yourself, right? And so this time of year, a lot of times, a lot of my clients, they have complications as far as the weather, getting the blues, feeling some kind of way. And so I wanted us to kind of talk about some key things to kind of be strong in this climate as far as when the weather starts to get kind of gloomy. Um, and also ask yourself, what are some things you could do for yourself as we roll into the holidays? We're getting close to the Thanksgiving. We have a lot of brothers out here and just men in general doing what they can to survive. Some of them have families, some of them do not have families, right? Or they're in that cusp where maybe you're taking care of family or your parents, grandparents, things of that nature, or just handling your business at the house, right? And so today I wanted us to kind of talk about, what are we going to do for ourselves to kind of show self-love, um, and representing Movember, or for November, where basically it's just International Men's Day. For that, for those people who do not know, it's November 19th. So that is Movember International Men's Day. So some key elements I want us to focus on in this episode for men's mental health is emotional resilience. Let's talk about that. And so, what does it mean to be emotional? Emotional, basically, if you have a feeling, do you wear it on your sleeve when things happen that according to what you think should happen? How do you respond to it? Do you let it throw off your day? Is it something that I always ask myself, right? When something, for example, I'll explain a story. One time I was leaving my house, went out to the car, and I had a flat tire, right? And I had an appointment I had to get to, and I looked at the tire and I just kind of laughed at myself. Luckily, I had a spare tire in the back, and so I ended up changing the tire. Um, and I ended up making it to that particular appointment, but I had to call, let them know, hey, I'm running a little late. Got there, had to wash my hands because when you change a tire, that type of thing. But I want to talk about that because I feel like certain people, when they have those challenges that happen outside of their control, um, it can throw you like your whole day off, or just throw your attitude off. Emotionally, you can feel some kind of way, right? And I've had enough situations with tires in my life that I realized it wasn't a big deal. I knew how to change a tire. Did I want to do it? Of course not, but it had to get done, right? And so I want to share this because I've noticed in the past, I would get upset, man, the tire, what am I going to do? That type of thing. And that wastes a lot of energy. But I've noticed since I've taken this approach, and just say, hey, whatever happens, I'm going to have the will and the strength to get through it. And the understanding, it was very powerful. And so I want to share this because after that tire situation happened, I got to the appointment a little later, washed my hands, and other things ended up happening. And so what I realized was, had I went earlier to that appointment, I would have missed certain people that I would have met, right? And so sometimes we have challenges that happen to build that emotional resilience, build that strength, build that fortitude, And so you only get that through going through certain tasks, right? They're pushing through certain things, right? Getting stronger emotionally. And so when, the rain comes, that song, Can You Stand the Rain, storms will come, everybody loves them, but tell me something, can you stand the rain, right? And so you're going to have those challenges. You're going to have those things that are kind of out of your control. And the question is, how are you able to meander through them? Do you figure out another way to resolve those issues? Do you just collapse when they happen? A lot of cool things happen when you're resilient, because what happens is other opportunities open up to you and you see things from a totally different lens, right? And so emotional resilience, sticking true to yourself, making sure you stay emotionally strong, working through it. Sometimes you might need to take a step back, work through it, but eventually see it all the way through. Okay, so big thing, emotional resilience. Also, this time of year, I want to talk a little bit about this too. A lot of people get depressed because of the weather. They don't see a lot of sun. And so make sure you reach out, right, to somebody. People are trying to prevent suicide types of things. And so it's important to make sure you have somebody you can connect to, right? It could be a family member, it could be a coworker. You could reach out to me, the Maassen Group 1 at Gmail, or you might want to just reach out to certain hotlines, right? There's hotlines you can reach out to people and just have those conversations. I mentioned school before, South King Emotional Wellness League. You can reach out to them. Also, you can ask for myself or just another professional and just say, hey, I need someone to talk to. The cool thing about school is South King Emotional Wellness League. When you reach out to them, they won't charge you anything for that. But also, too, what they do is they will connect you with somebody and you'll get free services. There's no paperwork and anything of that nature. You don't need insurance. And they'll do what they can to kind of help get you through that situation. So I recommend that. You don't have to be a man. You can't be a man, anybody, right? If you need those support services, reach out to them or reach out to me and I can help put you in line with that. Another thing, too, is this time of year, too, because of holidays, there's a stigma behind breaking up, right? If you're going through a situation with your loved one, significant other, or family member, too, right? It could be maybe you're in a situation where basically you're in family trying to work it out. Sometimes holidays can be very, very, very emotionally taxing because, funds are a little tight, different family personalities, right? You got to work through that. And so how do you work through that? Sometimes you got to seek help to kind of work on working through that, right? Seeking help. Also, balance is important to have balance. What are you doing to give to yourself? All right. A couple things I want to talk about too. Make sure you work on your mental health. Big thing you want to work on is your emotional literacy and expression. So let's talk about that. So when you reach out to me or just in general, like sometimes, as men, we're not really quick to express our emotions. Sometimes we get upset. We want to lash out. We want to get frustrated. And I'm not saying that's not important. Yeah, it's important to do that. However, it's also important, if you can, get a journal, right? Write your thoughts down. Make sure that you can express yourself fully. And then when you speak to someone, you can express it and not say any hurtful words. Because a lot of times when we're angry, it may come off forceful. And the people who we're talking to, or if we're expressing ourselves to that individual, they won't really feel our heart. They'll just kind of hear the words. And if they're coming off aggressive or forceful, that's going to push people away. And we want to make sure we express ourselves without shame, without guilt. If we're frustrated, yeah, sometimes we might need to say that, hey, I'm feeling frustrated right now, or write it down. Really important. Also, too, part of that expression is you need to let people know, too, when you need time. I think that's important, too. I know for me, and it's tough too, right? Because I feel like sometimes we have our female counterparts, sometimes it could be unsafe. You may feel unsafe, right? Because as you express yourself, people, you don't feel that they're being receptive, or they may kind of kick it to the curb, or just be quick to just come at you without any type of compassion or just listening to where you're coming from. And so what I recommend in that situation is a journal, or maybe talk to somebody who's not going to judge you. They're not going to have any comments. And they'll just hear where you're at, right? Hotlines are very important for that because basically it's a person that you don't really know. So there's no history and that type of thing. Sometimes we reach out to friends and family because you have history. That could be a challenge, right? But if you reach out to someone like myself or hotline or something to that effect. It's going to be a very, I would say, non-evasive, anonymous type of vibe. And so you feel free to kind of express yourself, and you don't need to say your name or anything like that. And just kind of express yourself freely, right? That's going to be important because a lot of times as men, we may have certain thoughts, and it may not, based on how we're raised, it may not be cool to express it, right? But as we practice that more, we notice that we actually, I would say, become more stronger and fortified within ourselves. But also too, as we express ourselves, when we're actually having people in front of us, we feel stronger, we feel more empowered as well to express ourselves. Another strategy too that I express is really important too is the mirrors. Really, really important. Look in the mirror at yourself and express what you're feeling. Sometimes I even write on the mirror, right? Where I'm looking in the mirror and I'm writing on the mirror some things I want to express. And practice like your body language, your posture. Are you sitting up straight? Are you standing up straight? Are you slouched over? Do you seem confident? Practice those things, right? Because sometimes you have to speak your truth, and sometimes it can be frustrating, or you may feel like it's a little bit afraid to express yourself. But I would say practice that so you can kind of get through that. Also, this time of year, it's like I mentioned before, suicide prevention. So it's important for us to be aware of that. So think about a friend that you haven't like connected to for a while, and just give them a call. Just say, hey man, I was just checking in on you. I would say once or twice a month, I have a couple friends I reach out to and just say, hey man, I'm just checking in. Right. You don't really know what a person's going through. And sometimes just getting that call and just saying, hey bro, I'm just checking in just to see how you're doing. That could actually lift that person's day. Sometimes you and that person can have a really good conversation. It may live your day, right? They tell you a funny story or something like that. And that can kind of lift your day, right? That's another thing too. Think about some things that bring you joy, right? Think about a funny time. Um, I remember one time, I'll express this. I remember one time I was going to meet a friend, and ended up pulling up to the house. Come to find out it was the wrong house. And I was sitting out there waiting for them. I called them, and I had to end up going around the corner, and we joked about that, right? And so now, like moving forward, they're like, yo, make sure you got the address. We kind of have something that we joke about, right? Really important to make sure you have those things you can kind of laugh about. Why is that important? Well, just putting a smile on your face changes the energy, right? They say it takes more muscles to make a smile than a frown, right? So just smiling, you're going to create a different space, a different energy that's going to kind of put you in a better space, right? Emotionally, right? And you can follow suit with that. Also, too, depression and anxiety runs high in men, right? So make sure that if you're noticing that you're feeling sad, you're noticing that you're feeling some kind of way. Couple things I recommend: try to find a routine that you can give to yourself to move your body. They have those walking boards now. You can get a walking board. Basically, you just put it down. If you're working at home, or if you're doing, a lot of times people are working at home right now remotely, so you can just put it on the ground and just walk while you're talking, right? That's going to keep the serotonin levels higher, keep you activated, keep you kind of paying attention to what's going on. That's going to help you feel better because you're moving your lymph, you're kind of moving the energy around, and just starting, even if it's small, like even if it's 5 minutes, you're going to notice you feel a little bit better, right? If you do it, I would say for like a half hour, you're going to probably start sweating a little bit, which is good, moving the lymph, kind of moving your system. And you're just going to feel better, right? Just because your body is activated. And you're just going to be breathing, recycling that air. You're going to feel a lot better. A lot of times when you do that, it'll clear your mind, and you get different types of inspired action to kind of figure out a problem or just feel better about yourself. And then you'll make different choices and just feel better about yourself. So I recommend that if you can. If I always talk about going out in nature, depending on the weather, you never can go wrong with that. But I can get it sometimes if it's feeling gloomy, you might be feeling some kind of way, but I still recommend that. Either go out in nature by yourself. If you have a pet, you can do that. Or a friend, you can go out with a friend. Another thing too that I've done this as well. So a lot of times, because it's getting dark, a lot of people are like, man, I don't really want to go out in nature. What I've done too is I'll go out and I'll bring my phone. And there's audio books you can listen to that are really powerful. Sometimes there might be videos you can listen to. But what I would just recommend is make sure it's something that you feel that's beneficial to you. So I wouldn't go and do it and like bring work or whatever during that time when you're just kind of detoxing or just processing. I would think about like a positive affirmation. I would think about something that's maybe teaching you something, right? Or maybe teaching you how to deal with certain things, right? So if you're working on anger management and you find a video that's really like you feeling it and it's showing you like how to manage your anger management as you're going for a walk, I think that's very powerful, right? Because what's happening is you're giving to yourself as you're going through the situation. And what's powerful with that is you're doing it very natural. It's something very sustainable. You're not taking any drugs or anything like that. And it's something that's healthy for yourself, right? So if you're learning some things about yourself and you're working through it, guess what? That's going to curb that depression. It's going to actually increase your mindset. It's going to help you be more positive. But also, too, as you become successful with that, guess what? You can be more of a beneficial person to yourself as well as your family as well. Okay. All right. Another thing, too, is during this time of year, too, we have different coping mechanisms, substance use, things of that nature. Explore healthier alternatives to self-medication, right? I mentioned it, going for a walk. Also, too, journaling, I think is very, very powerful or underrated. The reason why I like journaling is because let's say you've been working on yourself and you've been journaling for 30 days. The powerful thing with that is if you're doing it properly, you'll notice that if you go back to the first time, because you have this journal, you have this record that you've been like talking about yourself and expressing yourself. If you go back to the first day, compare that to the 30th day, you're going to notice a huge transition, right? Because sometimes I feel like we have these ideas to better ourselves. And because we don't see things immediately, sometimes we quit. The power of a journal is over time, and it doesn't really take that long. I would say within 2 weeks, you'll notice a big change, right? If you're consistent. So I'll recommend a journal, right? But also too, so you can self-evaluate yourself, but also you can reassess different goals because you notice, okay, if I have a goal that I want to accomplish in 30 days and then you accomplish it, guess what? You got to set another goal. You might say, well, I just already accomplished a goal. Yeah, but it's important to establish another goal because two things happen. One, you've already proven to yourself that you can reach your goals because 30 days prior, guess what? You set a goal and you accomplished it. One. Two, it's going to help build your discipline. It's going to also help build your character. And it's going to help build you. Why? Because you're putting love into self. You're honoring yourself, right? And so it's important to make sure you do that consistently because how are you going to have enough energy and enough chutzpah, if you will, to support somebody else if you don't have enough for yourself? So I would say it's really, really important to come up with routines and different types of things to help build yourself, right? Some people need to get their nails done, back rubs, foot rubs, that type of thing. Definitely encourage that. Another thing too is we want to re-identify masculinity, right? What does that mean to you? Does that mean that you are aggressive? I wouldn't say so much aggressive, but sometimes you got to be a man. And what does that mean? That means that you got to be a man of your word. You got to follow through on what you're going to say. Does that mean you're perfect? Absolutely not. However, the goal is that you're getting better every day, right? If you're working towards something, you see yourself improving, what's going to happen is that's going to build more to yourself, right? Because you've been able to see, okay, I started from this particular task and 6 months later, I'm pretty much solidified in this. Well, you've been building that for 6 months, right? Really important. But then the question is, who are you building? You're building yourself. So really, really important. But also too, part of being a man is being consistent, right? Being a man of your word, follow through. But also you want to challenge some of those norms, outdated norms that aren't effective. Think about what are some outdated norms that men think about that really don't really matter now, right? The one thing that I want to bring up that I think is important is wherever you are right now, you're enough. Just want to say that. Okay. Wherever you are in your journey, in your life, you're enough, right? I feel like, at least for me, as men, sometimes we feel like we have to have this particular female or this car or this job or these resources, right? But I don't know your spiritual affiliation, but it's important for you to understand that wherever you are in your life, you're enough, right? Very, very important to value yourself where you are. Think about a big oak tree. It had to start as a seed, right? But all of the DNA that's in that huge 100-year oak tree came from that little seed. So it was enough when it was a seed, right? And then as it was nurtured, it grew to a huge oak. And so I'm sharing that with you because I feel like that's who we are, right? Sometimes society will project things on us and we'll think, oh man, I don't have a car, I don't have the right body, oh, I don't have this income. But at the end of the day, God gave you certain skills, right? That you alone have those skills. Nobody else has those skills. And so I would implore you to celebrate yourself, right? Because if you celebrate yourself, guess what? Other people are going to start celebrating you, right? And also get to know who you are, right? Because we're constantly changing, we're constantly evolving. Play around a little bit, have fun with it. Why? Because life is too short, right? It's important to make sure we have balance. All right, fatherhood and mental health, right? Supporting dads with stress. Um, how if you have brothers or if you have other male friends, what could you do to support them? If they have dogs, maybe you can take their dogs for a walk. Maybe you could do something for your neighbor. For those people listening, reach out to your brother, your uncle, your father. Just say, hey, dad, hey, uncle, hey, brother, I just want to check in. I heard this dude, Larry, on the show. And I just want to check in with you. You'd be surprised at how much your brother, your uncle, your father would say, yo, I appreciate you just looking out. Right. And it's crazy because I talked about this video a while back where this gentleman went around, he just asked for a hug. And I want to say he went through maybe like 10 men. And what was very powerful to me is a lot of those men were negative, right? And think about it. The brother just said, yo, man, I'm tired. I had a long day today. I just need a hug, right? Unfortunately, a lot of us as men, we took it negative immediately. But I mean, raise your hand if you appreciate a hug. Yeah, I know I do. And so I want to share, like, it's okay to ask for a hug. Now, granted, it was a social experiment. And yes, he didn't know these gentlemen. However, like, where's your heart? Like, check in with your heart, making sure that, like, your moves that you're making, that you're being mindful with your heart. I think that's important. I think sometimes we get caught up on this bravado that we forget the heart element, right? We got people looking at us, right? And so I think it's important to have balance. I'm not saying that, you need to be weak, but it's important to have balance, right? We have a lot of people younger than us looking at us, people older than us looking at us. The question is, what type of man do you want to be? Do you want to be a man that's respected, right? Well, how are you respecting yourself? How are you respecting the people around you? So it's important to be mindful of that. Also, male friendships and emotional safety. Build deeper, non-competitive bonds. Really, really important. I think a lot of times as men, we get caught up on sports, which is great, but sometimes getting caught up in that competition, we kind of forget the basic element of just friendship, right? Now, granted, healthy competition is cool, but be mindful that it doesn't get out of control. Me personally, I think it's important to just I don't want to say not be competitive, but in a way, I mean, just yeah, I mean, not just honor the brotherhood, right? Honor the brotherhood, and it's okay if the brother is pushing you to be the best version of yourself. That's great, but at the end of the day, you're really only competing with yourself, right? How are you becoming better today than you were yesterday? And your friendship with that individual should help you cultivate that, right? So a little bit of healthy banter to support you, to push you over is great. But it's important to not get carried away with that. So I think that's important. Um, Also, too, emotional safety. So making sure that you have a safe conversation, right? Is there somebody you can talk to, say, hey, man, I got this on my mind, right? It could be a journal, it could be a person, it could be myself. It could be some individual that you have some sort of respect for, that you can reach out and say, hey, you know, um, some hopefully the individual, definitely I would say a prerequisite, they had to have gone and successfully overcame the incident or situation that you have or working through. Very, very important, because it's important for them to help you navigate through it. Also, too, sometimes we have this stigma with seeking help. When I first started kind of doing what I do as far as life coaching, I noticed a lot of people like, man, I don't really want therapy. And I would always say, you know, I'm a life coach, and we're basically just two brothers having a conversation, right? And that really, really relaxed a lot of people to realize that, hey, we all need someone to talk to. We all need support. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. We all have stress. We all have certain levels of things that we hit, and we need support. And so I think it's important to make sure we can reach out to people for that. Also, telehealth and online support, very, very powerful, because sometimes our schedules, it's like it's almost impossible for you to sit down and meet with somebody. But you know what? We have technology, we have phones, we have computers, so you can do telehealth. You can do a virtual meet or Zoom or Google Meet, right? Or FaceTime. There's so many different ways you can kind of work on that. Another thing too is community-based healing, right? So brotherhood circles, different groups, right? If you have an alcohol problem, AAA, Drugs Anonymous, it doesn't matter. Or if you want to just do a healing circle, really, really important, right? So we do hikes for healing. Um, I'll get more information and let you guys know where that's coming up. But I like to go for hikes with different people in the community. Really, really powerful. We spend some time in nature. You meet different people you haven't met in a while, or just people you just didn't know. But what's cool, if you look out here in nature, it's everyone's connected, right? And so it's important to spend some time out in nature where our ancestors were, and just get to know someone and grow, right? Really, really important. Okay. All right. So just want to say once again, make sure you guys celebrate Movember, which is International Men's Day, which will be November 19th, celebrating positive male role models. You want to keep your beard up, or make sure you grow a mustache, or just a shout out to a male that encouraged you or motivated you. Really important. Also, too, guys, next person to be coming on, Dr. Tracy Harrell. Make sure you guys show her love, living powerfully, and make sure you guys show her love. She'll be on from 6 to 7. And next week, guys, I'm curious to see, what do you guys think as far as what are some things we should talk about for November? Do you think this is effective? Feel free to reach out and just show your love. We really appreciate you guys. Once again, make sure you guys show some self-love. Make sure you give a brother a hug. And I'll see you guys next week. Without further ado, peace.